Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Representatives from England's Thames Valley Police say that a 43-year-old man is facing a number of charges this week after he allegedly took a stolen bus on a drunken joyride, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. According to reports, the incident began at around 6:20 p.m. on January 23rd, when a bus driver in the city of Milton, Keynes, stepped out of his vehicle at a Tesco bus stop on Tongwell Street. The driver had planned to make a quick phone call before continuing his route. Unfortunately, this turned out to be more than enough time for one of those on board, a drunk 43-year-old man, to take control of the bus and drive off with it. After hopping behind the wheel, the inebriated suspect reportedly made it less than 2 miles before crashing into a row of cars. He also smashed into the front of an Audi A3 at 40 miles an hour. Thankfully, it's said that the 17-year-old driver of the vehicle was okay, though his car was a total write-off. Reports state that the teen had just bought the Audi 2 weeks prior, after saving for nearly a year and recently passing his driver's test. The trail of drunken destruction allegedly caused by the 43-year-old suspect finally came to an end a short time later, when police found the stolen bus abandoned at a railway station 6 miles away from where it was originally taken. The man was tracked down and arrested later that same night on charges of aggravated vehicle taking, drunk driving, and dangerous driving. In a post about the incident on social media, Thames Valley Police said that thankfully no one had been hurt as a result of the suspect's actions. They also joked, quote, "When people say you've had a drink, take the bus, it isn't meant to be taken literally." Authorities in Japan's Aomori Prefecture say that a 58-year-old office worker was recently forced to channel his inner action movie star when he was assaulted by an armed attacker and had only an umbrella to defend himself. According to reports, the incident took place at around 2:50 p.m. on January 12th, when the 58-year-old victim was walking along a street in the city of Hachinohe, near his home. He was minding his own business when out of nowhere, he was allegedly approached by a man holding a sickle with a 6-inch blade. Completely unprompted, the sickle-wielding man attacked. Thanks to some quick thinking and even quicker reflexes, the 58-year-old man was able to defend himself with the only thing he had on him, his umbrella. Reports state that he successfully deflected at least 10 of the attacker's blows, likely saving himself from serious injury or death until police were able to arrive at the scene and place the suspect under arrest. While the attacker allegedly admitted to what he had done after being taken into custody, police say that they are no closer to establishing any kind of motive. The victim and the suspect apparently had no connection prior to the incident. Representatives from Australia's Queensland Police Service say that a 43-year-old man is fighting for his life this week after he was allegedly stabbed in the chest during a terrifying attack and trapped while his home was set on fire. According to reports, the incident began at around 5:20 a.m. on February 2nd, when a jogger passing through the Brisbane suburb of Grange heard a man yelling out for help. The jogger looked up at a nearby house to see the man, later identified as 43-year-old Roberto Zumbo, suffering from a serious chest wound and standing on the second-floor balcony of the residence. Roberto explained that he had been locked out of his house and that the place was on fire. Horrifyingly, he stated that 2 children were still inside. Thinking quickly, the jogger used a ladder to rescue Roberto from the balcony, while other witnesses who were drawn to the scene by the commotion were able to make their way inside and release the children. When police and emergency workers arrived at the scene, they entered the property and found that various items, including books, clothing, and curtains, had been deliberately set on fire. The flames were able to be extinguished before they got out of hand, though firefighters say that had the situation gone unnoticed for much longer, the whole house could have easily erupted into a blaze. During their search of the residence, authorities reportedly found a woman who had barricaded herself in the bathroom. She has since been identified as 44-year-old Piarina Didone Zumbo, Roberto's longtime partner. Authorities now allege that at the time the situation began, Roberto was out on his balcony drinking coffee when he was stabbed in the chest by Piarina with a large serrated knife. She then locked him on the balcony, locked the front door to the house, and set various items inside on fire before hiding where she was eventually found. Thankfully, the two children are said to be physically unharmed, though Roberto is currently in critical condition. Doctors say that the stab wound to his chest narrowly missed his heart. At the time of this recording, it appears that Piarina is not facing any charges in connection with the situation. Authorities have not commented on a possible motive behind the terrifying attack, other than to say that they believe it was the result of a domestic incident. They also say that the couple was not known to police prior to this week's situation. Representatives from the Hong Kong police force say that a 30-year-old Thai man is dealing with injuries as well as likely criminal charges this week after he attempted to burglarize units at an apartment building by making a daring drainpipe descent, only to find himself coming down much faster than he anticipated. The whole thing began sometime around 1:30 a.m. on January 31st, when the suspect, identified only as a 30-year-old Thai national, arrived at the Fuxun building in Hong Kong's Yuen Long district. According to police, his plan was as simple as it was dangerous. After making his way to the roof of the 6-story mixed-use apartment building, he began to climb down an exterior drain pipe, with the goal of burglarizing units by breaking in through their windows. As the suspect started his descent, everything was going to plan, until the female tenant on the 5th floor heard strange noises and decided to investigate. When she opened her window, the 30-year-old was apparently so startled that he lost his footing, falling 4 stories into an interior stairwell and landing on the 1st floor. While the suspect was lucky enough to survive the fall, his injuries understandably prevented him from fleeing the scene. He was reportedly found by police a short time later, still lying in the 1st floor stairwell, and was taken to a local hospital where he remains recovering in police custody. At the time of this recording, no formal charges have been announced against the man, though police say that they are still investigating, and in the meantime, he will be held on suspicion of attempted burglary. Authorities in the German state of Bavaria have released new information in the chilling murder of a young woman this week, months after she was found brutally stabbed to death inside a car in the city of Ingolstadt. According to reports, the incident began on August 16th of last year, when the parents of a 23-year-old woman, identified only as Sharaban K, were looking for their daughter. The Iraqi-born German beautician had allegedly told her family that she was meeting with her estranged husband, which gave them cause for concern when they didn't hear from her. At some point, while looking around that day, Sharaban's family stumbled across the unthinkable. Her lifeless body was found in a car close to where she had said she would be going. She had been stabbed more than 50 times, and though her face had been brutally disfigured, multiple family members were able to identify the remains. Or so they thought. Just one day after the horrifying discovery, police dropped a bombshell on the public. Not only was Sharaban alive and well, she, along with a man, 23-year-old Shakir K, had been arrested for murder. For the last several months, authorities have remained relatively tight-lipped about the case. However, that all changed this week when a wealth of new information was released. In particular, it's now alleged that the previously unknown victim was the unfortunate target of a so-called doppelganger murder plot to fake Sharaban's death. According to police, in the weeks leading up to the crime, Sharaban reportedly began searching on Instagram for women who looked like her. She reached out to several of these people with no luck, until finally she received a reply from an Algerian-born social media beauty influencer named Khadija O. Luring in Khadija with alleged promises of free cosmetic products, Shahraban and Shakir arranged to meet up with her on August 16th. The pair reportedly traveled more than 120 miles to her home in the town of Eppingen, picked her up, and began to drive back to Ingolstadt. Somewhere along the way, police allege Shahraban and Shakir stopped in a secluded wooded area, viciously attacked Khadija with a knife, and murdered her. They then staged her body where it was found in an attempt to convince Shahraban's family that she was dead. At the time of this recording, it's not exactly clear why Shahraban wanted to fake her death. All police have said so far is that she wanted to escape undisclosed internal family disputes. The relationship between Shahraban and her alleged accomplice is also unclear, though some sources we came across have stated that he is her boyfriend. Both Shahraban and Shakir have been charged with murder and, if convicted, are facing a potential sentence of life in prison. Authorities in the Taiwanese city of Tainan say that a local man was recently slapped with a hefty fine and sentenced to prison time after his pet parrot injured a doctor and his negligence was found to be the cause of the situation. The whole thing started sometime on the evening of July 13th, 2020, when the pet owner, identified only by the last name Huang, released his macaw parrot for a fly-around in the city's Gqeberha district. Authorities say that Huang let the bird go without taking any precautions, and when he did, the animal, which is almost 16 inches tall and has a wingspan of nearly 2 feet, made a beeline for another man who was out for a jog. The man, a doctor by the last name of Lin, was apparently startled when the macaw swooped up to him from behind and landed on his back. The doctor panicked, and in the resulting commotion was scratched by the animal in the back of the head before he fell to the ground. He dislocated his hip and fractured his pelvis as a result of the fall. According to reports, because of Lin's injuries, he was unable to work for several months. He ended up suing Huang for damages over the bizarre parrot encounter, and the case not only became a civil matter, but a criminal one as well. The case was finally resolved recently when a judge ruled that the doctor's fall was the result of negligence on Huang's part. He said that the size of Huang's parrot qualified it as a large animal and that he should have taken protective measures. The pet owner was slapped with a fine of 3.04 million new Taiwan dollars, or roughly $102,000 US. He was also sentenced to 2 months in prison on charges of causing unintentional injuries. Huang says that he plans to appeal the ruling, saying that his macaw was not aggressive and that the compensation is too high. Authorities in the South African city of Port Elizabeth say that they are searching for the culprits behind a devastating act of violence this week after they shot and killed 8 people during the midst of a birthday celebration. According to reports, the incident began sometime between 5:15 and 5:30 p.m. on January 29th at a residence in KwaZulu Township. Visumzi Sishuba was celebrating his 51st birthday and had opened up his home to friends, family, and neighbors. It was supposed to be a night to remember, and the party was in full swing when a pair of gunmen walked into the 51-year-old's yard. That's when they allegedly began to open fire on all of those around them. Authorities say that by the time they got there, 3 women and 4 men were already dead, among them Sishuba and his older brother. At least 4 others were rushed to a nearby hospital where sadly one of them would also succumb to their injuries. The gunman reportedly fled the scene before police could arrive. At the time of this recording, investigators say that they have launched a manhunt for the pair of suspects. However, their identities currently remain a mystery. It's unclear why Sishuba and his party were targeted, and no motive behind the heinous crime is currently known. The situation is still developing. The family of a missing 45-year-old British woman say that they are desperate for answers this week after she seemingly vanished into thin air during a morning walk with her dog several days ago. By all known accounts, the morning of January 27th began just like any other for 45-year-old mother of two, Nicola Bully. After dropping her children off at school that morning, she set off on her usual walk along the path next to the River Wyre. At 8:50 a.m., Nicola was seen by a dog walker who knew her from the area. Her dog and Nicola's brown Springer Spaniel briefly interacted before the 45-year-old went on her way. At 8:53 a.m., Nicola sent an email to her boss, and 8 minutes later, she logged into a routine Teams call with her coworkers. That call would last roughly 30 minutes, during which Nicola was seen one final time by a second witness. She was still walking her dog at this point, and nothing appeared to be out of the ordinary. However, when the Teams call ended at 9:30 a.m., Nicola did not log off. 5 minutes later, her cell phone, still logged into the call, was found on a bench by the river, along with her dog, who is now running loose on its own. The 45-year-old has not been heard from or seen since. At the time of this recording, investigators have been combing the surrounding area for days, utilizing divers, drones, helicopters, and police canines. However, no trace of Nicola has been found. While authorities say that they have not found any evidence that a crime has been committed, they say that they are, quote, keeping an open mind about what happened. Nicola's family, meanwhile, are worried that something darker has occurred, with her parents stating in a local news interview that they fear that, quote, somebody got her. At the current time, police have tracked down a couple of key witnesses that they believe can aid in the investigation, though are asking for anyone with information about the case to come forward. The situation is still developing. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a minute to thank our amazing supporters over on Patreon. As many of you are aware, our situation on YouTube always seems to be a bit uncertain, but our patrons help to ensure that we can continue to make content like this long term without having to worry as much about what surprises might be thrown our way. Plus, patrons also get access to 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. If you'd like to help support the channel directly, head over to patreon.com/crimezone to join. You can also find that link in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and take care.